All right. Good afternoon. In a short while, we will be joined by Dr. Becky Telford, Chief of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees Education Section, and also by Adriana Elizabeth Figueiredo Costero, the Global Advocate for Education and Youth Advocate for Refugees and Girls' Education. They're here to brief you on UNHCR's education report. Couple of answers to questions that have been raised in the last couple of days. First, I can confirm to you that due to events scheduled at UN headquarters in preparation for the General Assembly High-Level Week, the Secretary General will not be able to attend the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II in London on Monday. The Secretary General will be represented at the service by his chef de cabinet, Under Secretary General Courtney Rattray. Also, I've been asked about the start date of the new High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, and Volker has told me that he will start his first day in office as High Commissioner on October 17th. Until that date, Nada al-Nashif will remain the acting High Commissioner for Human Rights. Today, the World Meteorological Organization released its United in Science report. In a pre-recorded video message that was shared with you, the Secretary General said that there is nothing natural about disasters we've recently seen in Europe, in Pakistan, in China, the Horn of Africa, and the US, among other countries. They are the price for humanity's fossil fuel addiction. Each year, we double down on this fossil fuel addiction, even as the symptoms get rapidly worse, he said, adding that the report is a shameful reminder that resilience building is neglected half of the climate equation. It is a scandal that developed countries have failed to take adaptation seriously and shrugged off their commitments to help the developing world, he said. The Secretary General called on leaders to heed the alarming facts of the report and urged countries to boost their national climate ambition every year until we're on track. And he underscored that the G20, which is responsible for 80% of global emissions, must lead the way. This afternoon, Mr. Guterres will address the opening of the 77th session of the General Assembly. He's expected to warn that we face a world in peril across our work to advance peace, human rights, and sustainable development. At the same time, he will say that the United Nations is the home of cooperation and the General Assembly is the life within that home. The Secretary General has emphasized that the 77th session must be a moment of transformation for people and planet alike. And this morning, he marked the 61st anniversary of the death of former Secretary General Dag Hammarskjold at a ceremonial wreath laying, where he said that as we look ahead to the new session of the General Assembly, let us draw inspiration from Dag Hammarskjold's work and life. Let us find strength in our common humanity and together confront the challenges of our troubled world. This morning, the Security Council held an open meeting on Sudan. They were briefed in person by Volker Perthes, the Secretary General's special representative. He said the political crisis in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, contributes to instability in the rest of the country. Particularly worrisome, he said, is a surge of violence in Darfur and Blue Nile State. Mr. Perthes said that nearly half a year after the military takeover on the 25th of October last year, Sudan still lacks a fully functional and legitimate government. The decision of the military to withdraw from politics and the recent initiatives by civil forces offer a window of opportunity for both military and political forces to reach an agreement on the way forward, he said, stressing that time is of the essence. And this just in. I have a statement to share with you on the situation in Armenia-Azerbaijan. The Secretary General is deeply concerned about reports of renewed fighting along the Armenia-Azerbaijani border. He calls on the sides to take immediate steps to de-escalate tensions, exercise maximum restraint, and resolve any outstanding issues through dialogue within existing formats. He also urges them to fully implement previously reached agreements. The Secretary General expresses his support for the ongoing mediation efforts in the region. Turning to Ethiopia, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that tens of thousands of people have reportedly been displaced in parts of Tigray, Afar, and Amhara. Hostilities resumed there 3 weeks ago, as you'll recall. Humanitarian convoys into Tigray region are still suspended, as are the UN's humanitarian flight air services between Addis Ababa and Tigray's capital, Mekelle. This hampers the rotation of humanitarian workers and transfers for cash for our humanitarian operations. We, along with our partners, continue to distribute the aid we had already available in Tigray. That includes cold chain equipment such as freezers and refrigerators, as well as medical supplies to health centers and hospitals. Our partners have also distributed shelter supplies for 23,000 newly displaced households in Shire and Mekelle towns. In Amhara region, an interagency needs assessment was conducted in the town of Mursa in North Walla zone, where nearly 12,000 newly displaced people, mainly women and children, are taking refuge in 5 schools. Aid agencies will begin contributing food and other items. They have mobilized a mobile health nutrition team to the town. In Afar region, we are supporting health services and water infrastructure in areas where internally displaced people have returned. In eastern and southern Ethiopia, the drought is getting worse, and more than 1.6 million people are targeted for humanitarian assistance through the end of the year. To date, we have helped more than 8 million people, drought-affected people, by providing food, nutrition supplements, agricultural support, sanitation, and hygiene. Quick update from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where our peacekeeping mission supported a workshop organized by the National Alliance of Traditional Authorities of the Congo and the role of traditional leaders to promote peace, security, and development in Bukavu, in the South Kivu province of the country. The traditional leaders pledged support for national program on disarmament, demobilization, community recovery, and stabilization to work with provincial authorities and the mission to promote peace in their communities. Our colleague Imran Riza, who remains for the time being the UN resident and humanitarian coordinator in Syria, expressed serious concern yesterday over the ongoing cholera outbreak in Syria. The number of cholera cases so far is 20 in Aleppo, 4 in Latakia, and 2 in Damascus. The UN in Syria is calling on donor countries to provide urgent additional funding to contain outbreak and prevent it from spreading. We urge all concerned parties to ensure unimpeded and sustained access to affected communities, as well as support of neighboring countries to expedite the necessary approvals to ensure timely delivery of life-saving medicines and medical supplies. A note I wanted to read about Libya. There's been reports of a false letter purporting to be from the UN mission head, the current officer in charge, Ray Zenenga, and it was been circulating on social media over the weekend. The UN mission in Libya issued a tweet confirming that the letter is in fact a fabrication. The mission has noted that spreading false news and disinformation in an attempt to mislead the public and rally support for various political causes has become common in Libya. The UN warns against this and reiterates a call for all sides to avoid any incendiary action or rhetoric that may threaten Libya's fragile stability. Michelle, I think you asked me a question about a mural in Brazil today. And since today is your birthday, I actually have an answer for you. I can tell you that the Permanent Mission of Brazil proposed the donation of a mural by Brazilian street artist Eduardo Cobra. The UN reached an agreement with the mission that the mural would be installed on the west facade of the Dag Hammarskjold Library building for 3 months, starting mid-September. The theme of the artwork is sustainable development, in particular the concept of meeting the needs of the present without compromising Earth's ability to meet the needs of future generations. The donation is deeply tied to the commemoration of the 200-year anniversary of Brazil's independence, which took place on September 7th of what year, Michelle? 200 years, 1822.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'm not listening.
Sorry. As a reminder, Secretary General will be in this very room at 11 a.m. tomorrow to speak to you for his traditional pre-GA interaction. Due to the COVID regulations being put in place during the GA, we will have limited room. We're working with Anka and Malu to give you the details, and that'll be at 11 o'clock So obviously no noon briefing. Since we have the president of the UN Correspondents Association here, I will give her the floor.
Thank you, Steph. Any news on the schedule of the General Assembly, Transformation Summit on Monday, and the general debate from Tuesday in light of the funeral?
No, there's been no change in the schedule of events here.
So there won't be. I mean,
There won't be?
There will not be changes, or
I mean, at
we
this
don't know
point,
yet.
I do not anticipate any changes in the schedule of the meetings. There may be impact on the speakers list of who speaks when, but the meetings are going on as scheduled. Benno.
About this, didn't you say yesterday that you wanted to give us an update on how representation might change? I think there were 70 heads of state and
I
government
think that
before.
those numbers are continuing to come and go, so I think we'll have a clearer picture in the next few days. Okay, I will now go to get our guest, unless I see a question in the chat, which I... No, okay.